Welcome to Infinite Business Dynamics. Today, we're tackling a massive challenge that Agile practitioners and project leaders face every single day. We're talking about the core problem of applying a deliberately minimalist framework inside a heavy, highly complex enterprise environment. The 2020 Scrum Guide gave us a beautiful, lightweight set of rules. But as any practitioner will tell you, when that simplicity collides with the dense reality of corporate governance, scaling, and compliance, well, friction is absolutely inevitable. So in this explainer, we're going completely beyond minimalism to understand the expanded guidance necessary to make Scrum actually work in the modern enterprise. Here is the syllabus for our explainer today. We'll start with the paradox of minimalism, then we'll cover navigating enterprise constraints and moving from output to value. After that, we'll look at AI augmentation and accountability, and finally wrap up with the PMP mindset shift. Section 1, the paradox of minimalism, bridging the application gap. Okay, let's dive into this. To understand where we're going, we first have to understand the gap created by where we've been. You see, the 2020 Scrum Guide was intentionally incomplete. It was built to define the essential framework and literally nothing else, leaving room for context-specific practices. But in doing so, it created a massive application gap. So there's a really clear tension going on here. On one side of the scale, we have the 2020 Scrum Guide. It's lightweight, it's minimally prescriptive, and it grants teams the freedom to adapt. But weighing against that is the massive enterprise reality. We're talking about increasing complexity, the intense demands of scaling, strict governance, complex product discovery, leadership support, and rigorous value measurement. The framework tells us the rules of the game, right? But the application side demands to know how to actually play that game in a highly regulated corporate environment. And this growing demand resulted in massive unanswered questions. How should teams integrate practices beyond the framework? How do organizations support and govern this? The minimalism was intentional, for sure, but applying Scrum at scale created questions the framework simply didn't prescribe an answer for. Let's trace how the industry actually responded to this gap. In 2020, we got the official definition of Scrum, the core framework. By 2025, the need for deeper context brought us the expansion pack, which dug into the deeper theory, the principles, and the evidence behind the framework, basically answering the what and why. Now, looking toward 2026, the Scrum Guide Expanded broadens this guidance for contemporary product environments, extending the why and the how directly into real-world application. It provides practical approaches for navigating strategy, technology, and value. The crucial takeaway here is that this new guidance is an addition, not a replacement. It wraps right around the official 2020 guide, purposefully designed to answer those lingering questions of application at scale. Moving on to Section 2, Navigating Enterprise Constraints, Operating in the Real World. The beautiful theoretical idea of a fully autonomous, self-managing Scrum team sounds great on paper, but the reality is they don't exist in a vacuum. They operate inside a broader, heavily constrained organization. And this brilliantly illustrates that dynamic. Right at the center of a project, you have your core Scrum team, the product owner, the Scrum Master, and the developers. But look how they're encircled by hard organizational realities, an absolute boundary of constraints. Self-management gives the team autonomy over how they do their work, but it absolutely does not remove the organization around it. There are severe structural impediments that a Scrum team simply cannot solve all on their own. These constraints are very specific and incredibly real. Your team might be perfectly agile, but what happens when you suddenly hit a 6-month procurement cycle? What about rigid compliance and deeply entrenched regulatory requirements? You've got massive legacy technology stacks, isolated functional silos, strict organizational policies, and overarching governance models. True agility isn't about just ignoring these factors. It requires acknowledging, interfacing with, and expertly navigating these external organizational boundaries. The expanded guidance really teaches us that managing the ecosystem around the team is just as vital as managing the team itself. Section 3, From Output to Value, Measuring What Matters. Navigating those constraints allows us to deliver, but what exactly are we delivering? This brings us to a critical pivot in modern product management. Let's contrast the traditional linear focus with an expanded perspective. Traditionally, you have a Scrum team, they execute a sprint, and they produce an increment. The implied question there is simply, did we complete the work? It's entirely output-driven. But expand that perspective into an infinite product system feedback loop. It's not a straight line anymore. It's a continuous cycle flowing from product vision to strategy into discovery and experimentation, resulting in an increment. And it doesn't stop there. That increment must generate customer feedback, which validates outcome and value, which then drives adaptation. We have to completely move away from a factory mindset of just churning out code to a holistic product system mindset. To actually do that, we rely on evidence-based value measurement. This framework breaks value down into 4 critical quadrants. First, current value. What value exists for our customers today? Second, unrealized value. What potential value is out there that we could capture? Third, time to market. How quickly can we actually deliver and learn? And fourth, ability to innovate. How effectively can we create new value without being bogged down by technical debt? The golden rule here is that delivery only provides evidence. Just because a backlog item is marked done doesn't automatically prove it created the intended value. Delivery is merely the hypothesis test. That evidence must then inform your adaptation.
Section 4. AI Augmentation and Accountability, the human in the loop. As we look at accelerating that ability to innovate, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, artificial intelligence. We really need to set up the necessary balance between leveraging these incredible new capabilities and managing the severe new risks they introduce.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it juxtaposes a dual reality. On one hand, there are massive opportunities for AI to augment our work. It can accelerate product discovery, supercharge data analysis, assist with backlog refinement, generate code, automate testing, and even improve forecasting. But this is directly weighed against entirely new classes of risk: hallucination, bias, massive security and privacy vulnerabilities, and the absolute danger of acting on incorrect automated decisions. The central thesis is undeniable. AI may augment human capability, but human accountability remains absolutely essential. You literally cannot outsource accountability to an algorithm. So, to safely operate, enterprises must adopt this 4-step AI governance principle. Step 1 is the AI recommendation. This is the machine-generated insight, code, or forecast. Step 2 is mandatory human review, a critical evaluation for context, detecting bias, and verifying accuracy. Step 3 is decision and approval, where a human being exercises their professional judgment. And finally, Step 4 is accountable action. The human owns the outcome, not the tool. Let me declare this firmly. AI should never, under any circumstances, be treated as a convenient mechanism to transfer accountability away from people. The human must always remain in the loop.
Section 5. The PMP Mindset Shift, Synthesizing the New Reality. We've covered a tremendous amount of ground today, from enterprise constraints to value measurement and AI governance. Let's bring all these core ideas together to summarize the necessary mindset shifts for modern agile practitioners and PMP professionals operating in this expanded reality. When you're reasoning about complex enterprise situations, you can no longer just look at the process. A true professional perspective requires a balanced, architectural view of 3 pillars: people, process, and the business environment. You need to understand the people side: leadership, stakeholder engagement, and collaboration. You need the process side: tailoring frameworks, assessing complexity, and adaptive planning. But crucially, you must integrate the business environment, aligning with corporate strategy, governance, organizational change, and realizing true enterprise benefits. It's the synthesis of all 3 that creates a successful product system. So the crucial point is this: if you want to succeed, you must abandon outdated anti-patterns and embrace the expanded reality. We are no longer obsessing over velocity and speed. We care about value and impact. We aren't just tracking output, what we built. We're measuring outcome, what actually changed for the customer. Isolated self-management must evolve into distributed leadership. Agility doesn't mean no governance, it means tailored governance. AI assistance doesn't mean delegated responsibility, it requires retained accountability. And finally, we have to stop focusing on local optimization of a single team and shift our entire focus to system optimization across the enterprise. This paradigm shift changes everything about how we work. And it really all boils down to one fundamental question you must ask yourself and your organization today. Are we merely delivering increments, just checking boxes in a framework and pushing code out the door? Or are we learning whether those increments create meaningful, measurable value in the real world?
Version 2.
The 2020 Scrum Guide was built on a foundation of minimalism. It provided a stripped-down framework designed to be lightweight, giving teams the freedom to adapt their practices to specific contexts. This chart highlights the application gap that formed as a result. While the framework is simple, applying it within complex corporate environments involves scaling, governance, and measurement challenges that the Minimal Guide does not prescribe. The 2025-2026 Scrum Guide Expanded serves as the necessary bridge. It provides deeper context and theory to help practitioners navigate these complexities without replacing the core rules of Scrum. Success in the modern enterprise requires pairing that original simplicity with this expanded guidance to handle the reality of large-scale product delivery. This comparison matrix illustrates the shift from a traditional focus on work completion to a continuous spiral of discovery. Practitioners must look past simple delivery and map their work into a system of strategy and experimentation. This infinity loop shows that delivery is only one part of the system. The goal is to create a learning loop where customer feedback and adaptation determine if an increment actually created value. This radar chart introduces evidence-based management, which tracks value across 4 specific dimensions: current value, unrealized value, time to market, and the ability to innovate. In this model, delivering a product is merely the generation of evidence. That evidence is then used to inform the next round of adaptation. While self-management gives a team autonomy over their work, it does not isolate them from the organization around them. This diagram shows the Scrum team at the center of a fragmented ring of corporate realities. To be effective, teams must actively navigate procurement processes, compliance regulations, and functional silos. Agility is not found by ignoring these constraints, but by aligning team practices to work effectively within them. Artificial intelligence offers significant opportunities to augment human capability, specifically in discovery, testing, and forecasting. However, these benefits come with new risks. AI-generated work can introduce hallucinations, bias, and security flaws, potentially leading to a total loss of accountability. This governance principle establishes the human-in-the-loop requirement. AI provides the recommendation, but a human must perform the review and exercise professional judgment before any action is taken. While technology can execute tasks at scale, only humans can be held accountable for the outcomes those tasks produce. Adopting this expanded framework requires a shift in how success is measured. Practitioners must move their focus away from local velocity and toward system-level value. This checklist clarifies that self-management is not a lack of leadership, and agility is not a reason to abandon structured governance. By embracing these specific mindset shifts, organizations can apply Scrum's core simplicity to solve the most complex enterprise challenges.
Version 3.
Every day, Agile teams deploy code that keeps massive, highly regulated enterprise systems running. They operate deep within sprawling corporate structures, where a single misstep can trigger cascading failures across the network. For years, the foundational operating manual for these teams has been the 2020 Scrum Guide. It establishes a highly deliberate, lightweight set of rules. The authors designed the guide to be intentionally incomplete. By leaving out specific technical practices, they gave teams the framework to their unique local contexts. But a lightweight framework eventually collides with the heavy gravity of the enterprise. Teams face rigid compliance structures, complex product discovery cycles, and the urgent need to scale across multiple portfolios. This collision creates a vacuum. The guide provides the essential rules, but it remains silent on the systemic application required to navigate that organizational complexity. To survive at scale, practitioners must build a surrounding architecture of practice and governance to fill the operational void. This diagram illustrates the tension, the clean framework balanced against the tangled reality of organizational application. This enterprise weight comes from demands for scaling, governance, leadership, and value measurement. Practitioners must ask how to integrate these practices, questions the framework intentionally leaves unanswered. The Scrum Guide Expanded for 2025 to 2026 provides the theoretical depth and contemporary context to bridge this application gap. It is critical to understand that this expanded guidance is an addition to the official Scrum Guide. It leaves every rule of the original core intact. The goal is to build a layered architecture of theory and context around that core, enabling teams to achieve enterprise-grade performance. The first architectural layer focuses on reevaluating our definition of success. We must shift our target from software delivery to verified value. This comparison matrix shows where many teams get stuck. The traditional focus operates as a straight line. The team executes a sprint and produces an increment. This linear model asks an insufficient question. It only checks if the work was completed. ignoring whether the increment actually created a meaningful change for the user. The expanded perspective rejects that straight line. It places delivery as just one node within a larger, interconnected, continuous system. We can visualize this product system as a continuous infinity loop, where delivery is permanently tied to discovery and validation. On the left side of the loop, product strategy drives discovery and experimentation. This ensures what the team plans to build is grounded in actual market needs. Once an increment is released, it enters the right side of the loop. Customer feedback is gathered to confirm if that increment generated real-world value, which informs the next cycle of adaptation. This chart illustrates evidence-based value measurement, breaking the concept down into 4 distinct quadrants that help teams navigate this loop by tracking current value against potential innovation. Delivery simply provides the empirical evidence you need. It is exactly that evidence that dictates your next move. To operate effectively within an enterprise, a team must stop viewing themselves as an isolated feature factory. They are a node in an evidence-based product system. Building on that systems view brings us to the second architectural layer, addressing the reality of team autonomy. When a fast-moving, self-managing team operates without aligning to the larger corporate machinery, the resulting friction often brings delivery to a violent halt.
This graphic captures the reality of the enterprise environment. The central team is surrounded by a perimeter of organizational constraints. Those constraints take practically the form of procurement rules, compliance mandates, and technological silos that dictate how work must be handled. Self-management gives the team the authority to decide how they accomplish their work, but the organization's policies remain in effect. When a team hits a systemic impediment, like a compliance bottleneck, they cannot solve it alone. Overcoming these barriers requires active leadership and tailored governance to clear the path. Enterprise agility aligns a team's internal autonomy with the organization's enabling constraints. The final layer of enterprise complexity involves a rapidly accelerating variable in modern product development: artificial intelligence augmentation. AI provides significant leverage. It accelerates data analysis, helps draft complex backlog items, and rapidly models forecasting scenarios. But this comparison highlights a critical dichotomy. For all the augmented capability AI provides on the left, it introduces severe risks on the right, culminating in a total loss of accountability. As teams integrate these tools, streams of automated data, from code generation to market forecasting, pour directly into the team's delivery pipeline. Every one of those streams carries inherent hazards. Unchecked AI outputs introduce hallucinated facts, embedded biases, and privacy violations into the product. To defend against this, the system mandates a strict gateway. The human-in-the-loop review process stands between machine output and accountable action. This chart explains the AI governance principle. An AI recommendation is a generated insight. It is legally and operationally meaningless until a professional exercises judgment over it. During human review, the practitioner evaluates a machine's output against organizational context. They check for hidden biases and verify technical accuracy. This review transforms the input into an accountable action. The human practitioner owns the outcome, not the software. Artificial intelligence offers augmented capability, but never delegated accountability. Professional delivery demands strict human oversight for every automated input. By assembling the product system, defining the enterprise constraints, and enforcing accountability, we create a complete operational blueprint. This diagram represents the full Scrum Guide Expanded architecture. Organizational context and expanded theory create protective layers around the center. At the absolute center, the core Scrum framework remains exactly as it was written. Its essential rules are untouched. This expanded guidance constructs the environmental layers necessary for the core rules to function in high-stakes reality. This architecture succeeds only when practitioners rigorously evaluate their own professional approach. This diagnostic matrix tracks that cognitive shift. It maps the transition from a localized, minimalist viewpoint to an expanded, enterprise-level perspective. Notice the shift in goals. Teams must stop simply following a plan and start optimizing for active learning within enabling corporate constraints. The metrics change as well. Success is no longer defined by the output of a completed increment, but by the outcome of verified business value. This summary outlines the required mindset shifts.
practitioners must trade speed for impact and local optimization for system optimization. Modern enterprise practitioners engineer verifiable value within complex constraints, moving beyond the simple delivery of software increments.